ทุกคนนะคะก็กลับมาพบกับเอพิโซด2ของ Women and Her Wolves นะคะซึ่งวันนี้เราก็มีแขกพิเศษอีกครั้งหนึ่งนะคะเธอเป็นผู้หญิงจากประเทศเนเธอร์แลนด์นะคะเดี๋ยวเราจะมาคุยกับเขากันนะคะ Hi Lauren.
Hi.
Yes, really nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I would like to introduce you to the listener a little bit. You are a transformational facilitator and the founder of the international wellness brand Samarilla. Is
Yes,
right?
correct. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe if you could please start to explain a little bit about what is Samarilla.
Yeah, so Samavera is the organization that I'm creating because I'm a certified meditation trainer. So under the brand name Samavera, I teach meditation, mindfulness, I give workshops, I teach classes, etc. So Samavera is basically the organization that I created myself and under which I am teaching my classes.
Nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is like the page about women and culture. So I would like also to begin with how was your experience as a woman to grow up as a woman in Netherlands? Like, yeah, if you can share a little bit how the culture shaped you and influenced you to be you, and how was your life when you were young?
So actually I left the Netherlands quite early, like right after I finished my studies. So I did spend my whole childhood in the Netherlands, and what I can say is that the Netherlands is a very open, liberal country. We have freedom of speech, freedom of mind, as I like to call it. We basically have a lot of independence in our country because the culture is that everyone is responsible and everyone should take responsibility. So that means, especially even now with COVID, of course, every country is dealing with this in a different way. And what we see in the Netherlands is that until recently, I would say, the government actually only put out advice to the people. So there were no strict rules or regulations about what we can and cannot do. The government was more like, okay, this is the situation, this is our advice, so please reflect for yourselves how you think we can best manage the situation. They're not trying to suppress or not trying to make decisions for us, basically. So that also allowed me to reflect on how I would like to live my own life back when I was younger, and make decisions accordingly. So I think it's fair to say that because of this liberal thinking in the Netherlands, I was able to also create a life that is not standard at all, and that other people then accept, because we have a lot of independence and a lot of responsibility that we are allowed to take for our own decisions and our own lives. So I really appreciate that about the Netherlands.
And also your family also support you to be independent too, right?
Yeah, it was difficult for them in the beginning because, of course, they miss me, and their friends, the kids of their friends, don't do this. So they were like, why do you want that? Why do you need this? But now that they see it's making me happy, they really support it as well. And now they actually started coming to visit me in Asia and in South Europe. And they're like, oh, where are you going next? Can we come visit again? So that's actually very nice. Yeah. So they support me.
You said that you decide to left Netherlands quite early. When that happened, and also what is the reason why you moved, and also where you moved to?
I left right after I finished my studies. So I was 24, and first I moved to Eastern Africa because I wanted to work in community development. I wanted to help other people who needed help from my perspective. So I went and lived there for 2.5 years. I was a project manager. So I was managing projects to, for example, to help deliver clean water to primary schools so that school children could drink clean water when they were going to school. Because sometimes when they didn't have it, they would go to the river and drink from there. And yeah, of course, there's lots of diseases in that water. So, and then after 2.5 years, I moved to Asia. First to Malaysia because I got a job at a company in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. And after, again, 2 years, I decided it's 2 years, and for me is a long time to stay in one place. So I decided to keep the job, but then start traveling while working. And my company allowed me to. So I started traveling to Thailand, to Bali, and to other places. And I lived there while working online from my laptop for my job. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I've been doing that since. Yeah.
It's such a really interesting and beautiful journey. I
Yeah.
Can I ask you a little bit like what is the motivation that you want to work in the kind of like what you said in South Africa, like community or development, right? What made
Yeah.
you interested in that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure. Many people asked me this before, but I always had that dream when I was a child, when I was young, and I always kept the dream. And then when I was old enough, I decided, okay, I'll do it. So it's always been in my mind, and I literally just followed what was in my mind. But there's no specific reason. I was always focused on how I can help other people. And then I thought, okay, who seems to need the most help? And I thought, well, kids who don't have often enough money or enough food or enough, for basic living. So that's kind of how that started.
That's why it's like the beginning of journey that you moved to
Yeah.
South Africa. How was your
Yeah.
life? How was that life? 2 years, right there.
Yeah.
Any like
It.
culture shock or anything?
Sorry, did I?
Anything like culture shock or anything that you need to adapt to that?
Yes, it was not easy because they spoke a different language. I had to learn French because they didn't speak English there. And so that's already difficult, of course. And culture shock, yes. And mostly the way that people live. I was living in a very poor village, so not even a city, really like a very small village. There was not many shops even to buy anything. Luckily, we had someone who cooked food for us because it was not even easy to get food. Yeah, it was difficult because coming from the Netherlands, it's a country that's doing well, moving to East Africa and a lot of poverty, and it was my own decision. So I was able to deal with it, but it was difficult because you're trying to help other people who don't have what you used to have while also trying to adapt to a totally new situation that and trying to do all of that at the same time was it's not easy oftentimes. Yeah.
Anything that like kind of like what you learned from that moment that you can share?
I think I learned mainly two things. Number one, that it's really good to immerse yourself in those kinds of situations that are very different than what you're used to. Because when you basically confront yourself with new situations, you are able to learn a lot about the different way you can do something, the different way you can live, the different cultures that people have, the different mindsets that people have, and the different types of situations that exist on the same planet that we all live on. Because it's easy to get caught up and to only see what's right in front of you and to only talk to people who are similar to you, similar with from nationality or age or background or culture or anything. But not more and more people nowadays do actually go out and reach for unknown situations because it helps you to reflect on what it is that you know and then compare to new situations that you're confronted with and then make decisions for yourself independently on how you would like to see your life, how you would like to see the world, what it is that you can do in this world as well. So that's number one. And I think number two, it's related. I think for your own perspective, it is good to sometimes take yourself out of the current situation that you're in and put yourself in a totally different situation, because it helps you to think more clearly and think more independently and think more what's objectively about what is going on. Because when we are kind of stuck in a certain mindset, a certain way of thinking, a certain situation, it's easy to only see that. But when you put yourself in a totally different situation, you can kind of like lift yourself up and look at the bigger picture and really compare and see and make a very informed decision, as they call it. So I think it's very healthy to do this to yourself, basically. Yeah.
It's like you open your mind and to like immerse in that situation and learn from it.
Exactly. And you can do this in many different ways. No need to go to East Africa and live in a very small village, right? You can even do this by trying to meet new people in your own city, or you can do this by learning a new skill. You can do this by getting in contact with a new type of community, or speaking about different types of topics with your friends. You can do this in many ways. I think it's very, very good.
It can happen in daily life too, as you mentioned.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Before we move to another country, like I think about like it would be nice for you to like for you to share some experience too. But I think a lot of women that they want to travel to like different country, right? I mean, now there are a lot of women who travel alone, and even me, and also you travel alone. But maybe someone who still think about that, but they might not do it yet. Like from your experience, like anything that you want to like give as an example or advice that.
Yeah, I think it's not for everyone to travel by yourself, especially as a woman. So I think if that's not something you would like, then don't do it, but find another way. For example, find friends and travel together. Or there's also things like if you don't find friends in your own network who would like to do this with you, there's always in every country these types of organized trips with groups of people who would like to do the same thing. You don't know each other yet, but you often become good friends on the trip because you're immersing yourself in the same situation, which creates a bond very fast, very quickly. So don't push yourself, not too much though, and find a way that works for you to get there. That's what I would advise. If you don't feel comfortable going alone, then find other people. Find a different way. But do it.
I like what you said, that is like it's not for everybody, and you know your own condition, and go with what is that for you. Like if you want to go with your friend, go with your friend, but at least if you want to put something, you can do it, but in your own condition. Nice.
Find a way to do it.
So from there, from South Africa, you moved to Malaysia?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Sometimes I also have to think. Yes, then I moved to Malaysia. Yeah, and I stayed in Asia for 3 years.
How was it? Like, what made you to move there also? Like, and how was it?
It was 2 reasons. Number one, I wanted to try a different continent again. I hadn't been to Asia yet, and I always like to visit new places. But also, I was hired for the job before I moved. So I moved to Malaysia specifically because I found a job there. Yeah, and I was happy to move to a new place again. So I said, okay, Malaysia, no problem. First time in Asia, yes, I'd like to.
So your job is also related to like helping other people, and but in the way of like self-development, right? Would you like to say a little bit about your work?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so I got a job at Mind Valley, and Mind Valley is indeed in the self-development industry. I was still a project manager, so I had the same type of role, but a different kind of industry, helping others still, yes. But first it was more physical help, physical development in Africa. And then in Asia, I went into mental development, basically mindset, mental health, personal development, coaching, all those kinds of things. And again, I stayed for like 2.5 years. in Malaysia before moving to other countries in Asia.
Yeah. So like from the different style of work that is focused more on mental development, right? Are there anything that you that how to say like you get from that experience that is different from like this physical development that you can share in your personal experience too?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that I went through this experience. First physical development, then mental development, because I think together is what we need in the end, and they work together as well. Like your body, your mind influence each other, and that's what I'm learning more and more. So like I mentioned, indeed, after Mind Valley, I created Samavera, my own organization, which is focused on mindfulness, meditation, and it seems to be only working with the mind, but it comes together. You can never work with the mind without the body, and I believe you can never work without the body, without the mind, because it's interlinked, interrelated. And when you work with one part, it also hopefully positively influences the other part, right? So it's almost like I combined the two worlds that I was in before and created a new third world, my own world out of it, basically. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that experience. Yeah.
A bit, I think there are a lot of people who want to have their own business and have their own brand or something like this. So anything that you like have been through, or this can be any experience or any struggle that you want to share?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's plenty I could talk about here, but I think the most important one is to have focus, and not just in a sense of being focused with time and with energy, but also have a very focused idea of what it is that you'd like to do. And then even if you want to create something very big, start very small. And I learned this also in the business course I did. I went through a business accelerator program. So we had weekly mentorships, etc. And they also taught me, if you want to become as big as Google or as big as Amazon, still start very small. Start very focused, and then make sure everything you do, test the results, so you can make sure that what you're doing is actually serving your students or your clients or whomever you're working with. Because often we have ideas and we think they are the best ideas in the world. And then we go and work with it and we keep on working. And then maybe 6 months later, you realize, oh, no one wants to buy my product or no one wants to be my student, because we didn't test to see if our idea matches the market, so to say. So it's very important to keep testing everything you do and keep asking questions to people who you'd like as a client or as a student, so you can work with the idea, but create it in such a way that people can actually use it. Because what is in our head is not always the exact same as what the world is like out there, if you get what I mean. So it's important to match those two together. So number one, be very focused. And number two, keep testing, keep asking questions, asking feedback, and being open to feedback, because that is how you become successful. Listening to other people, their input, their ideas, and see how you can merge them together to improve what you're creating even more. I think those are the two biggest lessons I learned in this journey.
Well, it's such a really good learning, and I think like what you said, it's really important, especially when we want to do something. We might think about like a really big step, but actually just about small steps, right?
Yes, yeah, because otherwise it's easy to get overwhelmed, and then it's easy to say, okay, never mind, it's too much. But if you take small steps and be very focused, you will get further than you think you would, really. Yeah.
Now, like from the present that you start to do your business, do you have anything that you plan in your mind for the next step that you want to do, want to go?
Yeah, I do, because right now I teach my own meditation and mindfulness classes, but I'm only one person, of course, and I want to be able to reach more people because I also have my students all over the world, and I try to find a time that works for most people, but of course, you know, it's not ideal. So my next step would be bringing in other meditation instructors and then creating a platform on which I can introduce the students and the instructors to each other, so people have more choice when it comes to the time for meditation or the type of meditation. So there's more variety, so people can make their own choices instead of have just one option. So that will be the next step for me to expand.
Yeah,
Keeps coming up, expansion.
it's like you create a community instead of just like you
Yes,
yourself teaching, but you connect with each other.
exactly. Community. Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for this conversation. I think like I really learned a lot from you. But before we leave, like, do you have any words or sentence that you want to say for like women or any listener who listen to this right now?
Yes, definitely. I think it links to what we've been talking about already. I think that the final piece of advice or the final insight I'd like to give is that some of the most amazing experiences that I had in my life were the ones that I didn't see coming and the ones that I didn't plan. They were not goals of mine. It was just something that passed in life that seemed interesting and that I took the leap to jump on. So out of trust, I decided to try out and see what it would lead me to. So be open to whatever it is that life can give you, because it's probably more than you can imagine and even more amazing than you can imagine. And when you're open, more opportunities, possibilities come your way. But it's our responsibility to open ourselves up to it, to believe in it and to open ourselves up and to show that we're ready to receive, literally. Yeah.
It's really nice thought, like saying from you, just it's not just about that open to you, but it's also you also to open to that and ready to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
for those of you who like interest in Lauren works can also check on your website, right?
Yeah.
Samavira. Yeah.
Yes, samavira.com. Correct. Yes. Feel
Yeah.
free to get in touch.